Don't look now, but the San Francisco 49ers might just be getting healthy in time for week 1. Steph Sanchez and I will break that down and more right after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Steph Sanchez. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, the only podcast that is listed on the unofficial depth chart as wide receiver 1 and defensive end 1. Steph, how you doing today?
I'm great. Sensational. We're that much closer to week 1. We got a lot of football on the docket this weekend. I'm excited.
Oh my God. Thursday football, Friday, college football was really fun this weekend. I don't think I've watched more college football than I ever have this past weekend, especially, Miami and Notre Dame. And I caught myself watching Virginia Tech and South Carolina. Like I was just locked in. I was just happy to just be there and everything. But hope you guys all enjoyed the holiday. Speaking of the holiday, Monday, 49er fans were greeted of the sight of Jauan Jennings practicing and running at full speed. And I'd like to put on my tinfoil hat and say, this is no coincidence. Kendrick Bourne is coming into the building, and all of a sudden, it's magically healed. But we are happy to have Jauan Jennings back, and it is a good sign. Steph, what's your reactions to Jauan Jennings running again, looking like the calf was never a problem?
It's almost like it never was a problem, right? Like just a little bit. Yeah, I had the same sense. It was like deadline spur action, but also maybe Kendrick Bourne visiting spurred some action. And I think we figured this is where things were heading all along because Jauan Jennings, quite frankly, didn't have a lot of cards to play. And not only that, the card that he did have to play had an expiration date on it because at any point we knew the 49ers could just say, hey, he's cleared and he's healthy, so now we can start fighting him. I don't think Jauan Jennings was ever going to let it get to that, so he's back out there on the field. Now the question becomes, well, is he going to play on Sunday, week 1? And if so, how available will he be?
I think that's a really good question, and I think it would be, I wouldn't want to say foolish, but I think it would be naive to think that he's just going to get out there and have an 85, 90% snap share again. But this could be very interesting because he might be able to slide back into that third down role in which he was so efficient and in the red zone as well, too. So even if his snaps are dialed back, it might be done in a more efficient way, Steph. What do you think about that?
Putting him out there doing the things that he does best. I mean, I think that makes a ton of sense. And yeah, I don't want to see Jauan Jennings go from 0 to 60. I mean, that's kind of the worry for me with him coming back so suddenly and so close to the start of the season. As I've been saying, is that I feel like he's increasing his chance of injury. We don't want that because he already has this calf that he had dealt with on and off in this offseason. So if they can ramp him up slowly, but still, use him to where they don't feel like they're panicking at the wide receiver position, which right now I don't think they are anymore. I think that's a best case scenario for the 49ers.
100%. And, it might give you a little bit of foresight or, looking into the future of what his role is going to look like when this room gets healthier. And again, we love him in that role, third and Jauan. And, you can bet when times are tense that they probably will turn to him and use him in the slot. It just means big things for Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. Now, we've got to figure out a little bit of what's going on with the wide receiver room. The Kendrick Bourne thing, he came to Santa Clara and left. And everyone's freaking out, but before we get in,
just Kendrick Bourne, guys. It's just Kendrick Bourne.
This is how far gone we've gotten with the wide receiver position. Is that we are starving for Kendrick Bourne to get in here, and it's something I never would have thought was possible. But to your point, a little bit about Jauan Jennings, because a lot of people do want to think about these types of things. What is his snap share? What's that going to look like? Should you start him in fantasy? And speaking of fantasy football, we've got a new sponsor, Steph. It's my favorite app to play fantasy football on, and it's called Sleeper. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Sleeper. Are you using the Sleeper app for daily fantasy football? If not, you're missing out. Try to turn your football knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Just download the Sleeper app and pick more or less on 2 or more of your favorite players. Sleeper has more stats to choose from than any other daily fantasy app. You can make pregame picks or live picks as well. Choose more or less from the predicted stats, and you could win up to 100 times your money if your picks win. Use promo code GSP, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Love Sleeper, Steph. Love Sleeper. Love it so much. I was literally just telling Rob, do all of my dynasty drafts on there, do all of my redrafts there. Like if you're gonna invite me to your fantasy league and you're telling me, hey, I'm using ESPN or fantasy, I'm gonna politely decline.
Yeah, I definitely have come to love the Sleeper app. Have the few leagues on there, including the dynasty one that we have together, and in which I've beat you a couple of times. So, but Jay, I want to ask you a question. While we're on this topic, speaking of the 49ers and fantasy, right? We're just talking about Jauan Jennings, but I want to ask you, aside from Christian McCaffrey, that's too easy. Aside from Christian McCaffrey, which 49ers player do you think is the most likely to boom this season?
It's Ricky Pearsall, and I've been getting him everywhere. 9th round is a steal. I mean, when you look at the guys that I've really been rostering, Ricky Pearsall and Emeka Egbuka have been at the top. I've got both of them, and I'm ready for them to blast off this year. I mean, when you look at the situations, it can't get any better for Pearsall, and the same thing with Egbuka, especially because Godwin is out, McMillan's out. That's going to be a happy offense. Both of those guys, man. Ricky Pearsall, though, is the guy that I've been trying to get my hands on everywhere in any redraft league.
I wasn't able to get Ricky in any of my leagues despite trying. But I think my answer, if I want to change it up from yours, is George Kittle. And I get the Ricky Pearsall one value. You're getting him at great value. Kittle, you do have to get a little bit earlier in your drafts, but I think he's a smash spot like week in and week out this year. So really excited for those two guys this season. And I even picked up Purdy as a quarterback in one of my leagues. So switching it up this year.
Yeah, I've got Purdy in a 2-quarterback league, him and Dak Prescott. I figured Dak's going to be throwing the ball a bunch, and they're going to be scoring touchdowns since they have no sort of defense. It's just me throwing shots at Dallas. But yes, Sleeper app, guys. I absolutely use the code GSP. Get a deposit match up to $100. Love the app. Really happy that they're going to be sponsoring us this season. And this is how you know I really care about this app, because I've gone on and on about it. But Jauan Jennings, cool. He's back. Kendrick Bourne, we don't know yet. But I do have something to say about Kendrick Bourne. Again, I think people are just going to rush to the fact that they saw that an offer was made and automatically say it was a lowball offer. Again, I'm going to take the same stance that I took with Amari Cooper, which is I don't think anybody wants to come in here and think that their role has a chance to be phased out when everything gets healthy and gets right. Because if he's not there, I mean, if everybody's back, Ayuk, Pearsall, Jennings, all ahead of him, Kittle, McCaffrey, all ahead of him, I just don't think anybody wants to take on that role and then have that role potentially phased out. Jordan Watkins would be ahead of him. So I don't want anybody to go ahead and just go to the tired excuse of, oh, they lowballed him. What if it was, hey, this is the amount of money for the role that we need you for 4 weeks, and you could be out of it. So, I mean, I don't think he wants to just be phased out after 4 weeks.
I think the role thing is totally fair from the player's standpoint and taking that into consideration with everything. And quite honestly, I think he would have the same sort of uphill battle with the Commanders, who he was visiting with today as well. But having gotten an offer from the 49ers, and the 49ers also knowing that what his role would be, which wouldn't be much and would be temporary, I think it was probably a low ball offer. Like, if we're being honest, come on, it's the 49ers. They don't exactly like give you the best offer you can't refuse right out of the gate. Like, we know this about them. Not that I have a problem with it in this case. Like I said, it's just Kendrick Bourne. With Jauan Jennings coming back and him returning to practice that very same day, I think it even lessened the importance of bringing someone else in. So I think, whatever deal they did offer him was probably reflective and fair of the role he was going to have and where he's at in his career, which, by the way, I think the fact that it was a tryout and a workout is important, because I think these teams are trying to see, and it was the same thing for the Commanders. They're trying to see where he's at coming off of that injury and having not played for quite some time. So I think it's fair. And I do think it was a low ball, but I'm okay with it in this case.
Here are the guys that are going to run ahead of him: Jauan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Watkins.
That's what I'm
Now,
saying. Low
in
ball's fair.
Washington, you just have to beat out the great receiver KJ Osborne. I mean, it's Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin, and that's it.
So true.
Who else?
That really it.
Yes,
They don't have
Jalen Lane.
anymore. Yeah.
It's KJ
I
Osborne.
could have sworn they had more guys.
They don't, and I think we've overlooked that roster just because Jaden Daniels is so good, and we just assume that they're going to be back. But it gets a little hairy and thin over there at Washington. By the way, Bill Krosky Merritt, fourth on the depth chart. What are we doing here, dude? I was like, you know how many people have been putting their stocks into him in fantasy football? Like, nobody cares about any of that, does he?
Jay, I've decided that, these things just simply don't matter because it doesn't fit my narrative. No. Unofficial depth charts are, a crock of shit. So, yeah, I mean, I think every team goes about it differently. Obviously, the Commanders putting, someone like Bill at 4 is outrageous. You kind of saw something similar with Caleb Johnson out there with the Steelers. Now, in the 49ers case, for their unofficial depth chart, we didn't see too many surprises, I think.
We didn't?
Well, not too many, Jay. Not too many. There was one that I think stood out more so than others, and that is the fact that Jair Brown was listed as a starter along with Jason Pinnock. So Marquez Siegel, the rookie, who, he's been on the come up this training camp and in the preseason as well. Got a lot of playing time, looked good in it. Not listed as a starter. So are you buying that that's real, or is this just unofficial depth chart, ridiculousness?
It's not real. The starter's going to be Marcus Siegel.
It's not real.
It's not real. Like, and again, let's put the pieces together. When you're running and you're playing so much in week 3, they're not trying to protect you because they don't think you're a starter, right? Like, they're not like, oh, we have to keep this guy in glass case. Well, Jair Brown's out there running, and they're just like, it's fine. I think this is, again, it's unofficial. It's not from the coaches. So I think they're just going off the fact of, hey, Marcus Siegel is a rookie, Jair Brown was drafted. He's going to be ahead of him. But it is kind of interesting. You got Jennings and Pearsall, wide receiver. Tig and Pinnock are listed. It's probably going to be Siegel and Pinnock. I'd stake some good money on that. Warner, Winters, and Gifford. Gifford is going to play when there are 3 linebackers on the field. I want you to know that, but it's not going to be very much. So I want to make sure that that's correct. Bosa and Michael, that's fine. Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis at defensive tackle, Sky Moore punt returner, Isaac Garendo kick returner. That feels right. Jordan Elliott and Kalia Davis and not CJ West and Alfred Collins. Now, this one may have legs. This one may have more legs, and here's why. One, Alfred Collins is behind the 8 ball when it comes to his development, and he has a lot of things that he needs to work on, and he, working his way back from the injury. Now, CJ West, by all accounts, was dominating out there. But I would propose to any 49er fan listening to this, wasn't the whole goal for the 49ers to get a better run defense? Jordan Elliott's a run stopper on base downs. Kalia Davis would be that as well, too. Now, it would have been really nice to have the rookies on the field as well, too, but I wouldn't dismiss this one a little bit because of the experience and Jordan Elliott being his reputation as a run stopper. Doesn't mean that CJ West isn't going to play. Doesn't mean that Alfred Collins is not going to play. But I wouldn't be shocked if this was the starting defensive line and then your NASCAR package would look like Huff, Bosa, Michael, and Yetur Gross models. And everything would be rotational. But if the goal was to stop the run and fix the run defense, then this has to be a good starting point.
Yeah, I think that's great context because I think we expect that with the defensive line more so than any other, position group on this team, it's going to rotate a lot, throughout the year. Like you said, there's going to be a lot of different packages for different downs and in situations. So you are going to see CJ West at different points. Alfred Collins, like you said, that's going to take some time probably. And let's not forget that CJ West, while he was also having a very strong camp in preseason, he missed some time as well. So, maybe he fell behind the 8 ball too. You just never know how, especially for rookies, like any missed time could really kind of give them a bump in the road. So, not to say that he won't bounce back, but, maybe before he's deemed ready for week 1 starting action, they want to pump the brakes a little bit on that. I'm completely fine with that. And I think what you said as far as run defense being the priority for those base downs makes a ton of sense. I think that's okay by me. I think one thing also that I want to point out with this unofficial depth chart is I kind of feel like we got a clue as to maybe who will be the inactives on game day. And if you scroll just a little bit further down, Rob, so we could see this third column here. A lot, and I don't know if you could zoom in, but some of the names that are listed here, perfect. Like Jake Tungus, for example, Jordan Watkins. Isaac Rendo is going to be active because he's listed as a kick returner.
And he is going to be the kick returner for sure.
Special teams, yes, fine. So he'll be active. Jordan James, I could see him not being active for week 1. Robert Beal Jr. So I'm looking at this final row as some candidates to not be active for week 1, just based on where they are on the depth chart. And yeah, but I think as far as who is going to be available, I'm surprised by the fact that with all the worries and concerns we had of the injuries, really just 2 weeks ago, it felt like, Jay, it's completely turned around, and I hope it stays that way because they have 2 games on turf back to back, right? You got Seattle, and then week 2 you're away as well. So hopefully they could sustain that, but I think it's important to go into the season healthy at the very least. So they've got that.
It went from who the hell's going to be out there to how do we get all these people on the field in just like a blink.
Hey,
yeah, and I made the joke on Twitter, and again, humor's lost, and you can't ever have fun on Twitter or here because, people you need to be serious all the time, and you can't ever laugh at anything. But I was like, look, the 49ers 4D plan of getting all these injuries out of the way early on so they can just be healthy for the rest of the season seems to be working right now. And I think that's something that we have to give them credit when they start thinking outside the box. Like, hey, listen, if we're going to have injuries, we're going to do this now during preseason when we don't need you, and we'll be ready for week 1. I think that's genius.
Chestnut checkers.
5D game. Chess. Speaking of chestnut checkers, the roster construction continues. Marcus Valdes-Scantling called up from the practice squad. Russell Gage released, by the way, not waived because he is older, a veteran. I mean, not older, a veteran. He doesn't have to go through the waivers. But people are like, whoa, what the hell is that about? But it does seem like somebody was going to poach Marquez Valdes-Scantling off of the practice squad, so they wanted to protect themselves from that. I think they can part with Russell Gage more than they feel like they can part with Marquez Valdes-Scantling because he does have value as an X receiver who can stretch the field. And the first team that comes to mind is Pittsburgh, who just cut Bobby Trees, so they would have been back in on trying to steal him from the practice squad. Steph, the roster manipulation continues. I do think Russell Gage finds his way back to the practice squad and gets called up in week 1. And also the one little other caveat is the guaranteed salary that would have been for Russell Gage if he was on the week 1. If he was on the week 1 roster on the 53, it's, again, the manipulation.
I knew it had to be something because you don't just make a move like that. And it feels like, why would they do this? But there's a reason behind everything in the NFL. You don't just make moves to make them. And I think all the reasons you laid out are very much plausible, especially the contract, any of those guarantees or whatever bonuses for week 1. And MVS does have the deep ball ability, which, I hear Kyle likes that. So
are you being funny?
I don't know. No, people say that. I just don't, which I think it's funny. People say that all the time about receivers that the 49ers either draft. It's like, oh, this guy's speed, this guy's deep ball ability. And then you never really see it in games. Yeah. I think that's the annoying thing. But I'll say this, Jade, because I said it during training camp as well, that I noticed that Brock Purdy was throwing the ball deep a little more often than, I was used to him doing in past training camps. So I think that's something that he's working on. And I think that's something that we probably do see a little bit more this year. Mm. I don't know if it will be Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Maybe in week 1, who knows? But yeah, word on the street is he's a deep threat, Jay.
No, he is. And I'm going to explain this. And I see Speedster with Butterfingers. Okay, guys, if you want to be cynical, fine. Can I break down why this is actually
MVS
something that
for
could be.
bench game.
Yeah, no, not even that. It's just something that can be good. It can be good as an X receiver. He doesn't have to catch passes to impact the game.
Yeah.
He can run clear out routes that'll allow everything to operate underneath, backside digs to Ricky Pearsall. Come on, guys. Impact over box score. Let's do this. Like, right? Like, if you have Russell Gage out at the X, you are not going to get anything from him because no one's going to respect him over the top. If you're going to have Ricky Pearsall at X, you put him in a spot where you're going to have against their best corners. If you put MVS out there, let him run and get all his cardio in, take a safety over the top, bring everything else from underneath, backside digs to Pearsall, check downs to McCaffrey, throws to Kittle. Come on, guys, please. This doesn't mean that he needs to catch passes to be impactful. And again, this is just a 4-week trial. He'll be here for 4 weeks. Jordan Watkins will be back. He can be that. Maybe Ricky Pearsall turns into the X. But the way that you use him and you utilize him and put him in a role to impact the game has nothing to do with stats or box score. Sure, you might catch one pass. Sure, you might catch 2 passes. But if you go out there and you put up 0 for 0 and everybody else is going crazy because of the attention that you're drawing, that is far more impactful than the 2 catches that he could offer.
Jay, what I'm hearing you say is MVS season loading. No, in all seriousness, I love ball because there's so much more than just, what the person you see getting the ball. It's a choreographed dance, I think. And I think Kyle Shanahan is one of the best at manipulating space and making space for his receivers. We see that a lot. And by the way, Jay, while we're on this topic,
I would go for it. This is a perfect segue into it. Go for it.
Let's go. We're kind of cooking with the segues today.
Oh yeah,
I might say
so natural.
On The Athletic, and I don't know, Rob, if you have this piece pulled up. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Rob's right there with us with the segues. So The Athletic put out a piece of top offensive play callers in the league who were rated by their defensive peers across the NFL. Of course, anonymous, not named who was asked, but they did a composite ranking of the offensive play callers based on where all these defensive peers ranked them. So who do you think is number 1, Jay?
I have an answer. Pick me.
Jay.
Okay. Coach Shanahan. And you know what's funny is there's so much vitriol from the fan base about him. But what we forget is that he is widely respected in NFL circles. And if you don't believe me, believe all the disciples, believe all of the people that run the things that he runs. Now, I got into this article and I read it and I thought it was beautiful because they talked about things that we have talked about a bunch with Kyle that makes him special. Understanding the rules of the defense, knowing what your rules are and making sure that I can manipulate that, and knowing that you have to have a responsibility and I'm still going to put you in a bind and in a problem because I know what you're supposed to do and I know what's taught. That's why he likes to sit in with Robert Saleh and all those guys and learn all that stuff. And that's vital, right? Now, cover your ears, 49ers fans, because there was one fatal flaw that was spoken about with Kyle Shanahan, and you're not gonna like this answer.
I think
I didn't like.
Yeah, I think we already.
I didn't like it. And I'll read it right here. One shortcoming that came up a few times was Shanahan's pass protection schemes. Oh, there are ways to manipulate the protection, and the reliance on play action can lend itself to matchups up front. Otherwise, no play caller in the league commands as much respect from defensive coaches as Shanahan. Steph, I'm seeing like the helicopters going across my eyes. I'm seeing Chris Jones breaking free. I'm seeing you say something to calm me down.
I think we can all agree though that this is something we've seen, and we've seen it be a theme, especially in games where Kyle Shanahan has clearly not won the chess match, and that is usually going up against the league's best defensive coordinators, right? They just have the scheme that, can manipulate the pass protection that the 49ers are running and get the better matchup that they want. A lot of that, I think, has to do with the fact that the protections are set by the center. And I know Isn't it now that a lot of the Kyle Shanahan disciples, a lot of them have gotten to the point where they're allowing their quarterbacks to change some of the protections, or at least giving them the
Yeah,
freedom. Whereas Kyle Shanahan's a little like, no,
he's
like,
rigid.
and we know this about Kyle. He's stubborn. He's
Yeah,
very stubborn.
yeah,
Great play caller, but
yeah.
can be stubborn. So, and I know that Brock has been asked about this in the past, to which he pretty much says, like, I technically do have the freedom, but not almost like not really, because it's like I better be right
Mm-hmm.
if I
Mm-hmm.
change it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost not even worth to mess with, and you just keep it as it is. So yes, I think that is the one shortcoming I would agree with Kyle Shanahan. And we, like I said, we've seen other defensive coordinators, use that to their advantage against the 49ers. I don't know if at any point Kyle Shanahan will feel more comfortable in, letting Brock Purdy, or Brock Purdy getting more comfortable in, making some of those changes himself. But I mean, we haven't seen that yet. So maybe at some point we will.
Yeah, and look, I want to say this about Kyle. He's not perfect. The gap is closing too. The gap is closing. It was much higher with where Shanahan was, even over McVay. And now McVay's evolving his stuff and he's getting better. And I think that's where the frustration stems from with 49ers fans. Is yes, you're still up there, but the gap's closing. And it's getting closer and it's getting closer, right? You didn't see Ben Johnson as number 2. You saw Sean McVay as number 2. I think Matt LaFleur does a hell of a job as well, too, in terms of how he's been able to work that Green Bay offense, and they're able to run the ball as well. Like, the gap is closing. And it went from Kyle and then everybody else to, okay, now everybody else is evolving their scheme, and Kevin O'Connell's up there, and there's a lot of other play callers again from all the same tree and everything as well too. I think less of it is the frustration with Kyle himself, and more that everyone's catching up. Everyone's catching up and everyone's evolving, and you're seeing new things. What's funny is McVay's evolution of his running game was just to go back to some basic duo stuff, like the most basic run concepts of pulling the guard underneath and running in the gut. Like, that wasn't something that was out of this world, but it was an evolution, and you saw Kyron Williams take advantage of it. Also helps when Matthew Stafford's your quarterback, and he can throw the ball really well a bunch all over the place. But yes, the gap is closing, but he's still widely regarded. No matter what you think about Kyle Shanahan, no matter what your gripes are, just remember that's not an opinion that is shared in the NFL with people in NFL circles and people who really dig into this stuff and know the game in and out. So I just want to say that I'm not here to change your mind. I'm not here to, say that you're not right to have your opinion on whatever it is that Kyle needs to improve on. But just know that no one is kicking Kyle Shanahan out of here, because someone will literally fire their coach right away just to bring Kyle Shanahan in. And I just don't want 49er fans to forget that.
Some of the responses that we often see, and people even responding to this very article, saying that Kyle Shanahan was ranked first, is, oh, like, that's funny because they couldn't score touchdowns last year. Oh, that's funny because, they couldn't win a Super Bowl. It didn't help them then. Okay. Well, yes, the protections thing, that was one thing mentioned in the article, right? But I think aside from that, let's not forget, it's his actual peers, guys that have to prepare against his offenses, that are saying these things. I think that holds a lot of weight, Jay. So yeah, I think people are forgetting that part of it, amongst his own peers who play or who coach in the NFL, who know a hell of a lot more about football than we ever will.
For sure.
I think I gotta trust they know what they're talking about with
Yeah, and
Shanahan toward the top.
The comment here from Brett Davis, but it's interesting that they say Shanahan relies on play action, but the percentage of play action usage has been reducing over the last couple of years. And I think that's a product of Brock. And I think what so much of the play action was to help Jimmy Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. And Brock is able to, the drop back game, I'm going to push back on this, and I've talked about it, and I have film clips to back it up. This drop back game is evolving. And it's evolving not because of anything that Kyle Shanahan is doing. It's because they have a quarterback that's actually going to let it rip. All those throws were there on tape when we were watching Jimmy Garoppolo, and we're like, damn it, let it rip, Jimmy. And he's throwing it down, or he's throwing it into coverage. But Brock's actually letting it rip. So when you realize that you don't have to hold the quarterback's hand as much anymore, and he can evolve, the drop back game was only going to evolve when there was a quarterback who was capable of making it evolve. And so much of what you saw with Jimmy Garoppolo is a product of Kyle Shanahan. I mean, how could it not be? Look at what everything has happened ever since he's been gone. But there is an evolution of the deep ball game and the drop back passing game, but it's because of Brock.
Yeah.
And I want people to understand that.
Can you imagine if Kyle Shanahan had like a good quarterback the entire time he was head coach of the 49ers? Like,
you know what's funny? And here's another thing too. And this is something else that you can check from, the three highest scoring offenses, the three most explosive offenses that Kyle ran were with quarterback Matt Schaub and Andre Johnson. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk. The one thing this offense will always need is an alpha X receiver that can get himself open. And that's the one thing that whenever this offense has gone bananas, Matt Ryan won an MVP. Matt Schaub played the best football of his career when he was in Houston with Andre Johnson. Brock in 2023, absolutely lights out, almost an MVP. You need that dominant X receiver who can get himself open. And anytime that Kyle has had that, in 3 different spots, by the way, it's not like it just happened all at the same time or somewhere else. 3 different spots, the offense booms. And that's the one thing that they're looking for, and that's what they think that Ricky Pearsall can turn himself into with Brandon Ayuk as well.
To put a bow on this conversation, can I give a hot take here?
Oh, please.
I would agree, I think, with this assessment that, Kyle Shanahan's the top play caller with the limited information, I have. Again, I'll go with what the defensive coaches say. But again, with the limited information that I have and my opinion, which, means close to nothing, but I'm going to say it anyway.
I don't say that.
is that I think Sean McVay is the better head coach between the two.
Than Kyle?
Yeah. I think he's a better head coach.
I can get behind that.
I think Kyle's a better play caller.
I can get behind that. 100%. I can get behind that. I think that's not even necessarily a hot take. I think it would just be a matter.
I mean,
it would be
a take that would make some 49er fans hot.
Well, that's any take you give is going to make some 49ers fans hot, even if you say 2 + 2 is 4. So just might as well get your shit off, Steph. Just say what you want. But I don't think that's too much of a hot take. And if you don't agree, I'm with you. If you agree, I'm with you. I can see both sides of the argument. I think the reason that people say that about McVay is because they were able to win the big game, and he's done so much to as long as Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford's upright and can actually play football, the Rams are going to be in it. I mean, they took the Eagles all the way down to the end of that game as well too. If it doesn't snow, it might have gone a different way. That's the Philadelphia Eagles. They steamrolled a bunch of teams to get into the Super Bowl, right? So I could see both sides. I would say I agree, but I would say that I would still choose Kyle because I'm biased. And I could at least say that. But I understand the argument. And again, Steph, doesn't matter what take you give. It's going to piss somebody off. So you might as well just get your shit off.
Words to live by, I guess, if you're a 49er fan. So
why would I be scared about what somebody's going to think when I could say the most elementary thing that makes sense and still get called an idiot on this platform? Like, I don't understand. So, but that is Kyle Shanahan and his ranking with The Athletic. Now, Steph, 33 minutes in. If you're here, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network, wherever you get your audio podcast network. Oh my God, we can talk about football. And there's a game on Sunday. So, a few things. Obviously, the complete change of the Seattle Seahawks, right? DK Metcalf out. Tyler Lockett out. Clint Kubiak in. Sam Darnold in. Geno Smith out. And Mike McDonald drafts Gray Zabel, Nick Emanwari, and Torrey Horton, who I think is going to be actually starting. So it begs the question, all these familiar faces, the two really big chess matches in this game. Kyle against McDonald, because you saw what they were throwing out there, which was during the vanilla time of what you're seeing pre-snap and what you're seeing post-snap is insane. Is insane. And I don't want to hear it's just preseason because you can't get excited about what you saw with what Robert Saleh was dialing up and then tell me in the same breath that it doesn't matter when Mike McDonald's been dialing it up with his backups. Is that one? And then Robert Saleh and Clint Kubiak. Now, the 49ers are in a spot where they know what Kubiak's going to do. And if you need examples, last year as the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints, they led the league in pre-snap motion. And there was a little while where it was working. Even MVS had a few good games over there as well, too. A 100-yard game and a 90-yard game. And people were wondering, hey, how did that get unlocked? But Clint Kubiak's going to use a lot of pre-snap motion. He's going to help Sam Darnold get these easy looks. And he wants to turn Kenneth Walker into that Christian McCaffrey role of we're going to throw him the ball, we're going to feed him the ball. The 49ers have to set the edge in this game, and the outside zone is going to be the way that Kubiak's going to try to attack Robert Saleh. I cannot wait to watch this chess match between the two sides of the ball.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good one. And while the 49ers have had the upper hand in this rivalry the last few years, I would say, the better half of the last few years, I do think at some point, the tide is going to turn again. Or, it'll be very close where it's going to be some battles and they'll be going back and forth and all that. And I think the Mike Macdonald thing is important because I think when he was hired, he was like the worst case scenario hire.
Of course.
If you're a 49er fan. Like,
of course.
Worst case, because I still can't get over that
Christmas Day.
ruin my holiday. Like, how could I forget?
I have a better hot take real quick. I don't want the 49ers playing on any more holidays.
No,
there.
I said this just yesterday. Like, no more. And Jay, like, I couldn't even help but think, why is it always against the Ravens too that we just get curb stomped on prime
on
time
national TV?
Prime time in the holidays to make it worse. What was it? The 2014, 2013 game? It was
the one in Baltimore?
The Harbaugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah, and when Ray Lewis asked Patrick Willis for his jersey and he was like, I'll give it to you at the Super Bowl.
Gee. But getting back on track to this game and why Mike Macdonald was like worst case scenario for the 49ers is because obviously he comes with a scheme that has had success against Brock Purdy and this offense. And I think we knew what he was going to have available to him when he got first hired by the Seahawks wasn't going to be what he was going to what he had with
work in progress.
Obviously. So it was going to take some time for him to build up that defense as far as the personnel he was going to have available to him and all that. He's had, another year to handpick a few more players. So it's not quite at that level yet, even still. But I think you're going to see some improvements. And like what you were saying, Jay, just like the pre-snap versus post-snap looks, like that is very challenging for any quarterback, I think, to deal with. And, it could be a challenge for Brock Purdy as well. So while Brock himself has had a lot of success against the Seahawks, and it's been a lot of success, it's been great to see, actually, as a 49er fan, because I've been waiting for a quarterback who can consistently win against this team. So even with that, I do have worries about that coming eventually. But in week one, Jay, I still think the 49ers have the upper hand because I think both teams went through a lot of dramatic changes. But I do think, based on what I've seen so far from the 49ers, like training camp, from their preseason, I actually think this defense is going to get off to a hotter start than I originally thought it would. And yes, there are going to be some blips here and there, but I think overall, it's going to be much improved from what it was last year. If you think about the things that they struggled with mightily, run defense, that's going to be improved right out the gate. It already is. Like we saw it in training camp. I have no worries about the run defense right now.
Can't be worse.
It can't be worse. And I'm ready to eat those words if I'm completely wrong.
If it goes from 28th to 31st.
No, it's not happening. Not with Robert Saleh, not with the improvements they made. I truly believe in what I saw so far from this 49ers defensive line. It's going to be improved. So with all of that, like I just think that the 49ers are gonna be ready. They'll be ready for the challenge. And I think on the offensive side, just knowing that, you have George Kittle, who also has some great games against Seattle. Didn't you tweet about that?
I did.
An hour ago?
7 touchdowns in his last 5 games against Seattle.
There you go. I mean, so Purdy, Kittle, they cook against Seattle. So I think they'll be fine there. And now you have Ricky Pearsall in the mix. You have Christian McCaffrey back. I feel so much better about this team. And yes, there are some unanswered questions that will be answered for better or for worse on Sunday. But I do feel that the 49ers could win this game.
I have the 49ers winning this game. Shocker. But I cannot tell you how much I hate the fact that this is a week 1 game.
No, I love it, actually. Why
is that? I hate it because, first of all, week 1 is always the weirdest week of football. Always. Sure. The Patriots beat the Bengals last year in week 1. The 49ers never start hot other than 2023, right? Against Pittsburgh, right? Even last year's game against the Jets, that felt like lackadaisical because the Jets are just awful. Under Kyle Shanahan, it takes them a while to get rolling. These guys haven't played a bunch. The first game is just always weird, muddy, ugly, sloppy. And look, if the 49ers come out sharp, I don't think there's many teams that can beat the 49ers. But week 1 is always stupid. It's always the worst week. Always. I'll never do it. Survivor pool, again, Patriots beat the Bengals. 49ers, struggle a little bit with the Jets. And, it's always something weird. And to have this be the first game when you have to get off to a hot start in this division because that's your path to the playoffs. That's your path to winning the division. I can't stand that this game is in week 1. I do think the 49ers are going to win it, but given the history of how the 49ers start slow under Kyle Shanahan because they don't play much in the preseason and how week 1 is just generally wonky, I hate that this has to happen and the game's in Seattle.
49ers openers under Kyle Shanahan in 2017.
Go for it.
4-4, 4-4, 3-5 against the spread, 1-2 as road favorite. In Seattle since 2017, 4-4, 5-3 against the spread, covered last 3 visits as winning favorite. Well, Seahawks are the underdogs going into this game as the home team. And by the way, shout out to Cam Inman for posting that.
Yep.
And by the way, Jake Moody was 8 for 8 on field goals and extra points in week 1 last year, in case you didn't know. So, maybe wonky is good for the kicker.
Play the damn thing, Rob.
Don't encourage him.
Update. Kicker.
The 49ers are going to win.
Update.
Okay.
I swear to Superman.
What is he doing? Can I say really quickly, and we'll get to the super chat here. Can I say just really quickly why I like this matchup happening in week 1? Because this is still a pretty newish team, I think, that's still getting off the ground with Mike McDonald, still getting off the ground with a lot of their new pieces, new quarterback included.
For sure.
So I like this happening in week 1 because they still have a few things to figure out. There's still some things that have to gel and click for things to really get rolling for them. And so I think it's a good opportunity for the 49ers. That's not to say that automatically means the 49ers win, but I think it's a pretty decent chance. And I have felt the tide turn against Seattle in the 49ers' favor as of late. So that's why I feel pretty good about it. Really quickly, just want to get to this super chat from Giannis, who says, my prediction is Jennings finishes 4th or 5th in targets. He won't be in 2 wide receiver sets by the end of the year. 49ers 30, Seahawks 20. Ooh,
yeah,
nice.
I like it.
Nice.
Look, I think the 49ers are going to win this game. I just think it's going to be an icky, annoying, heart-racing game the entire way. It's going to go down to the wire. I have the 49ers winning this one 27-21. It's going to be annoying. It's going to come down to either a goal line stand or Brock Purdy going down and trying to win the game. You know what particularly concerns me now about this Seahawks defense is, you hit the nail on the head. Yes, he does such a great job with the Ravens as a defensive coordinator. Cool, but he's not bringing over Roquan Smith and Matt Abike and Kyle Hamilton. And, it's really easy to say, oh, my God, he has the Ravens blueprint, but you don't bring the Ravens roster over with you. Now, Nick Emenwari feels like he's going to be a Kyle Hamilton guy, like being able to be flexible. Julian Love is there. They bring in DeMarcus Lawrence. Leonard Williams is still one of the most, underrated linemen in the league. Byron Murphy's good as well too. Like, me giving credit to Seattle doesn't mean that I'm scared. I'm not scared of shit. I don't got to play. But I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to objectively break this down and why this game is going to give you more fits. Like, if you would have asked me before the draft and you would have said right after, whatever happened last year that Sam Darnold's going to be there and they're getting rid of DK and I would have been like, Niners by 100. But then you see all the stuff that they did when they drafted Gray Zabel and they drafted Emenwari, and Horton by all accounts sounds good, and you end up with DeMarcus Lawrence, and it's all starting to line up now to where Mike Macdonald can actually deploy that defensive game plan that he's always wanted to with the Ravens, because now he has the talent to do it. And that doesn't mean that I'm scared. Do you want me to just tell you it's sunshine and roses and the Niners are going to win by 50? When has that ever been the case in week one? When? It's never been the case in week one. And I don't think it's going to be the case in week one in Seattle, given what the Seattle Seahawks have put onto their team and, just the 49ers way of starting slow usually.
They better not start slow. I mean, I think they've had excuses, if you could even call them that, for starting slow in the past when, they've had short off seasons and things like that, but I don't think they really have an excuse for that this time, and they better be pumped to just get back out there and prove that they're worth a damn after last year. Especially from the veterans, the guys who have been on this team, I need to see a reinvigorated, team. I've seen that, in bits and pieces from some of these guys. I just can't wait to see it out on the field. Now, Jay, I have a question for you. About this game. So who on defense is going to be catching the Sam Darnold interception?
D. Winters.
Like, you even hesitate. Did you have that one in your back pocket? Do you think? Time?
You know why? I see a Jimmy Garoppolo throw right into the linebacker interception by Sam Darnold when he's going to turn his back and he's just going to throw it right. And D. Winters not even going to know what to do with it. It's going to hit him in the stomach. I got D. Winters. I wanted to say this. Also, Rob, speaking of the energy, because Steph is right, the energy needs to be like that. Can you please find that Fred Warner speech before that Thursday night game in which he was saying that we hate these boys like that? Like, I that right there, like, I'm like the Kool-Aid man. I'm about to run through my wall, man. Like, that's the energy they need to have. But I did want to say, like, in terms of the outlook of this season, it is going to have to be the higher-end talent that lifts this team up. You need George Kittle to have a huge season. You need Ricky Pearsall to have a huge season. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. You have to have, but you cannot have any of them be a slow start or anything like that. They have to lift while this team is figuring all the other stuff out. This is the first time that the 49ers roster has been so top heavy that those guys can't even afford to have any sort of slip up, and that you're counting on them to lift you. That's what I'm looking for. I can live with bumps and bruises when it comes to the rookies, second year players. That's fine, because that's all in the name of development. There is no development right now that Trent Williams or Nick Bosa or Fred Warner or McCaffrey or Kittle or like, let's go. Like, we have given you the money, rightfully so. You are the leaders of the teams. Probably a bunch of them are going to be named captains, but I need you to lift this team now. No excuses. I need you to lift this team, and I need you to be the engine that drives this team. Same thing with Brock Purdy. All of you guys have to lift this team. Everyone's looking at you, and rightfully so, because you are very talented and you're highly regarded. But those guys really have to step it up this season and just keep it going all year. They cannot afford to have a down year from almost any of those guys.
We hate these boys! We hate these motherfuckers! Come out and smoke these boys from the first whistle! The first fucking whistle! One game, 60 minutes, all you got! I fucking love y'all boys, man! I love y'all with all my heart! Let's go beat that boy ass!
Listen, Fred Warner wasn't even around for when Seattle used to torture the 49ers. And that's how he feels. And that's how we feel because we were around for all that. Speaking of holiday games that piss me off, what about the Thanksgiving game where they ate on the field? I don't want to.
The 49ers made that right, though.
Yeah, all right.
Made that right.
So they made that one right with the Thanksgiving one, and then the New Year's Day one, right? The New Year's Day one against Washington. Yes. All right, so yeah, that's two. Cool. But when I think of Thanksgiving games, that's the one that really, really like. I can just see that idiot Russell Wilson eating that turkey leg, and
We've had some really terrible runs with holiday games. Terrible.
oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
historically.
I already have my issues with holidays, right? For Christmas, I'm not really that big of a fan. It's for the kids, that's fine or whatever. But I don't need my day ruined by the 49ers getting smoked on national television either.
Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that.
Thankfully.
Thank you, NFL schedule makers.
But yeah, so it's really got to be it's on the back of these guys, and the season is gonna go how they go, honestly, and I feel okay with that because they are really good, and I do believe in them. So it's not a terrible thing to be in, but it's something that's a bit of a new thing for the 49ers to be in because they generally have other roster depth that can pick up the slack in case of something like that. It's not there this season.
Ooh, you're going to start the season going up against the Seahawks, and you're going to end the regular season going up against the Seahawks in those rivalry jerseys. Jay, do you think that Week 18 game is going to mean anything for the 49ers?
Nope.
Do you think it's because they'll have clinched the playoffs already, or because they're not making the playoffs?
No, it's because they clinched the playoffs and they won't be able to fix their seeding. They'll just be locked into their spot and they'll have everybody getting ready to play in the next game. By the way, two things that we need to stop talking about, and I want to kind of institute two things. Kickers and jerseys. I don't want to talk about either of them anymore. I don't care. Let them play in a burlap sack. I don't care. Just win the fucking game. I don't care what you're wearing. I'm tired of this jersey discussion. I don't care about those rivalry jerseys, but people are like, oh, only 3 in the red. I don't care what jersey you wear. Just win the damn game.
I kind of care about that because the white classics their away jerseys are my least favorite, I think. And why are they wearing them so much? Don't answer that question. That was rhetorical because I know why they're wearing them early in the season, but I am not happy about it. Okay, Jed, build a roof, man. You got
build a roof. Build a roof is crazy. You know what's funny is it's funny because I know that they're wearing these because of the heat and everything. And here are those jerseys that everybody likes. I don't have to give my opinion on this anymore. I really don't care. If you guys like it, I love that for you.
All that matters.
And that's all that matters. It really is. Who cares what I think? But it's just so funny that the 49ers moved from San Francisco to Santa Clara, and they put the stadium literally in a spot where the sun just beams down right into it. And they're like, wait a minute, we didn't think of this. And it's just like, who was the planner?
They literally took the same design that they had done for the San Francisco spot and just plopped it in Santa Clara with no consideration for the weather. I have some choice words for that decision making that I won't share here on the show, but it's funny though that after all these years, 10 plus years, we're still complaining about this stadium, and for good reason, I think, in my opinion.
Look, I like going to Levi's. I went for the home opener when Jimmy threw the backward pass and Trey Lance ran in the touchdown, and then Aaron Rodgers threw that pass over.
You have good memories.
Oh yeah, I do. And I went to the Tampa Bay game where Brock threw that deep pass to Brandon Ayuk, and everything was looking good, and it was 2023, right? But I enjoy going to see the 49ers other places so much. Like I would probably say that I'm not going to a SoFi game this year, but I'm absolutely going to try to hit Houston or New Orleans, and obviously right here in my backyard, which hopefully to see a lot of you guys because there's so many 49ers parties that are going to be going around on that time, in here in Jersey. So yeah, I just enjoy watching them play different places. Like I've seen them in Tampa, I've seen them in Philly, which by the way, those Eagles fans are not as tough as they all lead on. They were kind of just leaving in the 8-minute mark. They thought the game was over. They were not tough at all, actually. But I like seeing them in different places, and that's why when I book my trips, I rarely book them to go to SoFi. I book them to go to places that I've never seen them. Houston is a place that I want to go to, and I love New Orleans as a town, and I'd love to get to the Metrodome as well too. But I'm straight on. I've been to Levi's. The only way I'll go to Levi's again. So the San Francisco 49ers are playing in the Super Bowl. I don't know how. I'll try to just sneak my way in. I'll just try to I'll try to like like I'll try to jump in like with all the laundry and
I'm
everything
sure
and
there's
see
a
if somebody
way.
wheels me in. Somebody wheels me in, because it's gonna be an expensive ticket. But Steph, getting back
Achievable.
to football. What's your score prediction for week 1?
I
How does
don't know
this
if
game
it's
go?
don't put me on
Yeah,
the spot.
well, you are on the
I'm just
spot.
gonna say random numbers because
Do
I
it.
didn't put actual thought into this.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say 24-19 49ers.
Icky game, right? Icky game is gonna be like, like really like, gut wrenching. Chat, let us know what your predictions are, and we'll read them out in here as well too. Steph, maybe it's just me. My mood has just been through the roof. I Air tastes better, food tastes better, and it's all because football is back.
This
And
was a
and
fun show, Jay.
yeah,
Like
you think so?
I feel like we're in mid-season form
Oh,
because we're happy.
I
Joy's
I'm just
back.
so happy. I'm just so happy to stop talking about hypotheticals. What's gonna
Yes.
happen with this guy? We can start talking
Yes.
about actual games. I can give thoughts on other teams now because we have that for the week. It just I love talking football and I love talking actual football. And the NFL, there's no better content created on the 49ers and the NFL. We are not the content creators. We are again, we're in the boat. All of the fish are coming in, and we're whacking as many as we can with an oar. Daniel says 23-20. Ryan says 23-21. Moody misses a PAT. And you know what's funny is I can't wait for a random Thursday night football game, and it's gonna be, let's see, it's gonna be the Arizona Cardinals against the New York Jets, and we're gonna be like, oh God, why do we have to watch this?
Is that an
Who's
actual
scared?
game this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying. It's just teams that nobody cares about, and it's just, oh God,
Happens
who?
every time.
Right, and we're gonna be sitting there like, oh God, I don't. Why do we have to watch this? And then it's gonna come to like May and June, and we're like, I would kill to watch like Mac Jones play against like Bailey Zappi in a Thursday night football game because that's how quickly it happens. Like,
Well, we watch them anyway, Jay. Like
I know, I know. Oh yeah, listen,
no
it's
one's
like
twisting our arm.
it's like pizza. If you give me pizza, I'm gonna eat it. Doesn't mean that it's good, but I'm not gonna turn it down. It's the same thing with football. I don't care about that. Jonathan O'Rourke says Niners 27-17, 10-point win.
Oh,
Man,
I
well,
like that.
we want to double back on the sleeper thing. Make sure you guys check out the app and put in on some higher, lower props and things like that. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. Sorry. For picks, I'm sorry. So you can use that as a way to heighten your chance in the game while you're following along with your fantasy football leagues. So yeah, Steph, super excited. What are your chances now of being a winner in our dynasty league this year? How good are you feeling now that Bill's buried on the depth chart?
I still feel great about my chances because my team is freaking awesome.
Loaded.
Is
Yeah.
loaded. Like I got the wide receivers could use some work. I'm kind of like the 49ers right now. It's just a bunch
Uh-huh.
of it's a bunch of guys. It's a bunch
Mhm.
of bodies.
Mhm.
But my running backs are stacked. I got two. It's a super flex league, so I got two quarterbacks who run the ball as well, so they got upside. My bench quarterbacks are pretty solid as well. So I'm just, I'm here to hopefully get the crown this year.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to be in it, but I am going to be very much relying on my two amazing quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Hopefully
That's
they
a
are
cheat
able to.
code. Like,
Hey,
no
listen,
doubt.
remember, and this is good. This is how we're going to tie it back to the 49ers. Remember how that trade came about because I did not have Lamar Jackson. I had a one Trey Lance, and someone traded straight up Lamar Jackson to me for Trey Lance. I have never hit accept faster on any trade in my life. I didn't even want him to think about it because no matter what I thought, and this was during the time when we were very excited for Trey, but Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
I was like looking at having Allen and Lamar. So yeah,
That's literally the Family Guy meme.
right. Yeah. I don't want to know what Trey
You know
Lance
what
is. I
Trey
know what
Lance
Lamar is. I know what Lamar is. Like, give me that. But unfortunately, it looks like week 1 because I have Jaden Reed and he's going to be playing through a Jones fracture in his foot. I don't know how you do that because it's never happened in recorded history in the NFL. But he's not going to be able to play. I might have to start Keenan Allen. I do have Jamar Chase. I have James Cook. Caleb Johnson's buried on the depth chart right now. My team's in disarray, man. And I'm looking at Theo Johnson at tight end because Ben Sinnott stinks. I'm just
Well,
like,
Jay, I have a lot of tight ends. So if you
Let's
want to
talk.
strike a trade,
Let's
do
talk.
it. It won't
Jameis
be Lamar
for
Jackson level, but
Jameis for a tight end. Let's do it. You need a little Jameis on your team. That's
okay. Yeah.
the missing.
I don't have enough quarterbacks.
That'll do it for this episode of Bully Ball on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, guys. Thank you for joining with us. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. Subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. Make sure you follow Steph on Twitter at Steph49K. Follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. Steph and I run YouTube channels as well too. You might want to take a look in there. There's a lot of good content from the both of us coming. But Steph, we made it. It's Tuesday, 9 o'clock. And I don't even know what to do because I just want it to be Thursday already. Like, watching Dallas get destroyed on national television is going to feed families.
And we're going to see it all year. So, good for us.
But thank you guys again. For Steph, for Jay, we're out of here.
Peace.